Let's continue by learning about the different forms of harassment. This will help you in recognizing and understanding what does and does not count as harassment. Harassment includes verbal, visual, and physical conduct that is offensive to a reasonable person and impacts the work environment negatively. Verbal conduct can include making or using derogatory comments, epithets, slurs, and jokes. It can also include graphic verbal commentaries about an individual's body. Visual conduct can include leering, making sexual gestures, and the displaying of sexually suggestive objects, pictures, cartoons, or posters. Physical conduct can include touching, impeding actions, or blocking movements. Unlawful harassment can include non-sexual and sexual harassment. Non-sexual harassment is unwanted, non-sexual conduct of a visual, verbal, and physical nature that can negatively affect working conditions and target a protected class such as race, color, national origin, ancestry, religion, sex, pregnancy, age, marital status, genetic information, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, military or veteran status, disabilities, or other medical conditions. Following is a brief example of non-sexual harassment. Judith is the only Hispanic employee in her department. Because of this, she is consistently asked where she was born. This is an example of race discrimination and harassment and possibly national origin and/or ancestry-based harassment. Sexual harassment is unwanted sexual advances or visual, verbal, or physical conduct of a sexual nature. This definition includes many forms of offensive behavior and includes gender-based harassment of a person of the same sex as the harasser. One type of sexual harassment is quid pro quo, which means this for that. It's always sexual in nature, and it's usually easy to identify. Quid pro quo harassment occurs when a person in power, either expressly or impliedly, requires a subordinate to submit to sexual advances by threatening the subordinate with an adverse employment action, such as a bad review, a demotion, or even termination. For example, Jeremy has applied for a promotion within his department. Cindy, Jeremy's direct supervisor, calls him into her office to discuss this promotion. She immediately offers the promotion, but only if Jeremy agrees to come to her home for a romantic dinner. This is an example of quid pro quo. Unlawful harassment also includes creating a hostile work environment. A hostile work environment can either be sexual or non-sexual. It is behavior that interferes with a person's job performance or that creates an intimidating or offensive work environment. A single incident of harassing behavior is illegal if the behavior is intimidating, hostile, offensive, or unreasonably interferes with another person's job functions. When determining what constitutes as offensive behavior, consider whether a reasonable person in the same group as the target would consider it offensive. The subjective experience of the target and how much they are emotionally impacted are also important. Let's review the following example. Kim and Anna are co-workers. Kim has made it clear that she is attracted to Anna. However, Anna has repeatedly declined Kim's advances. Kim continues to leave notes and flowers on Anna's desks, making Anna feel very uncomfortable. Following is another example. Aurora is employed at ABC Company. She has been with the company for 30 years, and because she is older than her coworkers, she is constantly referred to as a grandma or old-timer. These jokes are distressing to Aurora. Because Aurora is in a protected class due to her age, this is considered harassment and creates a hostile work environment for her. Another protected class is national origin. Let's review an example. Willie is from Australia. His co-workers like to tease him about growing up in the wild and ask repeatedly about whether or not he's now house trained or whether he still goes out in the wild. Another protected class is pregnancy. For example, Gina is in her 6th month of pregnancy. Her co-workers are constantly calling her fatty and poking her stomach, making comments about whether or not she'll pop. In regards to medical conditions, Craig has suffered from diabetes for over 2 years. He has to take frequent breaks to test his sugar levels. Co-workers tease him about his quote-unquote special privileges, saying that he's going to get a sugar rush and call him nicknames like Pokey Fingers. These are all forms of example of harassment based on protected classes. But what about discrimination by association of a protected class? There are also protections against harassment which extend beyond the protected class itself. So what does this mean? Victims of harassment based on association with a protected class or a perceived relation to a protected class would also be protected. This is referred to by discrimination of association of a protected class. What about discrimination by association of a protected class? There are also protections against harassment which extend beyond the protected class itself. So what does this mean? Victims of harassment based on association with a protected class or a perceived relation to a protected class would also be protected. This is referred to discrimination by association of a protected class. For example, while sharing with a coworker how her weekend went, Carla shares that her best friend is a lesbian. She confides to a coworker that her and her friend have been going to gay bars, even though Carla is not gay. Afterwards, her coworker started making derogatory remarks towards Carla about her bisexual tendencies and homo bar hopping. Although Carla is not in a protected class, she is being harassed because of her association with a friend who is in a protected class. Knowledge check. Which of the following is not a form of harassment? Click on the correct answer below.